It's going. We can cut this out. Go.
Alright.
No,
We're here with Pippo to do a character interview on the book Speaker of the Dead. Let's begin. Pippo, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, thanks. What about you?
Doing great. Appreciate you taking the time for this interview today.
Thank you.
Got a couple of questions I've written down here for you. About 4 pages worth. Let's get started. What was your overall purpose as a character?
My overall purpose in Speaker of the Dead was to be the main xenobiologist on Lucinia, and I was to study the Pipiquines, this new species, also called the piggies, and I was also such an example to further the mysteries that will unravel later in the book on Lucinia.
I have no idea what you just said, but it sounded very interesting.
Thank you.
What were some of the conflicts you faced?
Some of the conflicts I faced were the constant rivalry, between other colonists, and then also the interaction between the Pipiquines. How we interacted. We couldn't give them too much information. We didn't want them to know about our human world and them to take over that, so we gave them as minimal information as we could, just enough for them to know. And also, something that was a challenge is we went out. I went out to study Pipiquines one day and ended up dying, and was bisected by these so-called piggies, which I thought were my friends, but ended up backstabbing me in the end. And that was something that really changed the environment of Lucinia.
Sounds like it. Sounds like there was a lot of conflict you faced. Was there anything else that you had to overcome in the conflict, or how did you overcome it?
At this point, I was dead in the book, so I couldn't really overcome much.
I can see how that would be difficult. I appreciate you being here for the interview.
You're welcome.
What are your strengths and weaknesses in the book?
My strengths and weaknesses. Well, let's see. My strengths on Lucinia, I was the main xenobiologist, so I specialize in xenobiology, so that would be one thing, and that I'm good at. And then one of the weaknesses is that I was very reserved and kept things to myself, and that ended up costing me in the end. Like I said, I ended up dying because of that. And yeah, so that's one thing that definitely led to tragedy in the end.
Sounds like a very costly tragedy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
All right. So, as you look back on your experience as you went through this adventure, if you could change one decision, what would it be, and why?
The one thing I would change is I went out I went out to talk to the Pipiquines and about Descolata. It was a disease that infected Lucinia and basically killed a lot of the people. So I was going to ask them about that years later, about that and why, because we figured out a discovery that the molecules in the grass, and the trees, and the rivers were all identical, the reeds were. So I was asking the Pipiquines about that, and I ended up dying. So they bisected me, and later I was found. But if the one thing I would have changed is I would have gone out with the group or something to better protect myself, because I didn't know the Pipiquines were going to backstab me like that. But yeah, that's the one thing I would have changed: better protection against a different species that I wasn't too aware of.
Gotcha. Can you go into more detail as to why, what it was like to be bisected? Just teasing. All right, next question. How were you affected by the events of the novel? There's a couple of different areas we'd like to look at this in: the emotional side, the physical side, and physically.
One thing that impacted me was when we accepted Novena in our family. She was an orphan girl, and her parents were the main reason why Descolata, the main disease that covered Lucinia, didn't spread and kill everyone. Their parents